The reason, the rhyme, 5 things that mean something to me and the reason why. This time, stroke recovery milestones. And by the way, to those that were watching on the stream, there you go. Your names are up in lights. You shouldn't miss the streams. You see all this fantastic stuff behind the scenes. Behind the scenes streams, stream scenes. Now up first is a bit of a preamble to this one. Allow me to be a tad self-indulgent. Good name there, isn't it? Tad indulgent. I might change my name to that by default. I went into the hospital on the 30th of August 2022, and I'm pretty sure it was either the following day or the day after that the physios turned up. Mob-handed. There was the physios, the occupational therapists, about 6 or 7 of them in the room at the same time. And what they did is they spoke to me about what I could expect of them, what they expected of me, what the process was going to be about recovery, and when it was going to start. And it was going to start the very next day. And the process started with sitting upright, genuinely sitting upright. Not the kind of thing that you teach babies by putting them on a sofa and putting a cushion at the side of them. That. You had to find your midline so you knew what was safe and what wasn't. So that's how it started. And then from there, being surrounded by birds, from there it moved on to handwork, which still isn't working properly, but squeezing things, trying to grab, trying to move, trying to flex, all that kind of stuff. And then to stand up. Now, I'm a tall person, I'm 6'4". Being in a hospital bed and then being hoisted out and put into a wheelchair, having to live for weeks on end at sort of this level when I'm normally way up there was strange. So the first couple of times I stood to me full height, I felt like a king. It was amazing. I felt 8 foot tall, never mind 6'4". So that's not a milestone yet. What he then got me to do, standing up regularly, is to then put one foot slightly forward, rock, and then rock backwards, and then place my foot behind me, rock backwards, rock forward again. And it was just getting used to the leg moving slightly. So I thought, brilliant, we are moving forward. And then one Sunday morning, most of the physios and all that were quite young, late 20s, early to mid 30s, very enthusiastic, full of energy. But on the Sunday morning, a slightly older, more experienced physio turned up. Leslie, I think her name was. She went, morning, I'm Leslie. We're going to do some physio. I went, yeah, fine, I'm up for that. She went, brilliant. We'll get you walking today. And I said, what? What are you on about? No, I'm not ready for that. So I'll tell you when you're ready. Oh, fair enough. She took no shit off anyone. So we went into the physio room. She had a look at me. She seen what I was capable of doing. We done some of the sit to stands. We done some of the rocking back and forwards. We tried some of the hand movements. And she went, right, get up, grab hold of there's a table next to me. Okay, you've got your midline sorted. That's all the practice was, sitting upright and things like that. Now, move forward. And she explained the mechanics of walking, the mechanics of putting your foot down, heel, rock, toe, and off. And I took my first couple of steps. And that's the milestone number 1, is your very first step. You have to learn to walk again. It's like being a toddler. You have to learn to walk from scratch, and it's horrible. But that first step, the first proper step, the first stride, is absolutely incredible. Once you've done that, Lao Tzu, the Chinese philosopher, said, a journey of 1,000 miles starts with 1 step, and that was mine. So that's milestone number 1, or 1,000 milestone number 1, depending on how you view things. Here we go again. Doesn't last long, does it? And because you're taking your first step, loads more happens afterwards. you can almost get back to a normal life. Almost. This is going absolutely everywhere. One-handed. It smells nice though. So what comes next? Well, after your first step, come many steps. That's your next milestone. Walking. Actually walking. Proper walks. Out in the open air. Next to the beach. I know that's all grass at the moment, but the sea does come in, honest, promise you. And you can walk next to the beach or walking down your own home street. Or by the lake. I was dreaming about that when I was in the hospital bed. Just being able to get out. It's amazing. Fresh air without the sounds of machines keeping you healthy. But obviously you get different sounds in there. Sounds of slot machines and people enjoying themselves, but it's so much better. Get out more if you can, because when you can't, you will really miss it. And what comes after walking? Running, I hear you say? No, 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 no. Driving. There was a long time that I was in the hospital, I thought I would never drive again. I thought it was beyond me. I thought physically I'd be unable. What with my entire left-hand side not working. And also I thought maybe I wouldn't be allowed to because of the injury. But I spoke to the consultant and the occupational therapists and physiotherapists, and they all said, if you are up to it, you have an assessment and they will decide whether or not you are safe to drive. And so I had an assessment, which was at the best part of 3 hours. It was a cognitive assessment to make sure that I was switched on enough to drive. Then there was a physical one, made sure I had the right movement in my head to look around and what have you, and the other side of my body was working properly. And then an actual go out and drive kind of assessment, where I had a driving instructor and an occupational therapist in the car with me. And we went for a drive on a private road to begin with. And then afterwards, just driving around Haydock in the northwest. And that was the first time I'd driven. That was May. That was the first time I'd driven since the day before the stroke. Just to be back behind the wheel of a car was absolutely incredible. If that had been it, if that had been my last time driving, I think I'd have been alright with that because I'd have done it one more time, that was it. But I was alright, they said I was safe, as long as I drove an automatic car and I had hand control to use the indicators, the lights, etc. So I've got an adaptive controller and I drive an automatic now. And it's massive as well because it means I can go places. I can go to the shops, I haven't got to rely on people. I was able to go to therapy, physiotherapy and occupational therapy on my own. I didn't have my dad messing around with his working week to fit me in. So I didn't feel as guilty for doing that. I know my dad wasn't bothered, he was looking after me, but I still felt guilty about doing it. Being able to drive myself was much better. And also, there's times when you're just sick of the same four walls. And it was lovely being at home rather than being in the hospital, but you are still transferring one set of four walls for another. Being able to get out and actually sit by the beach in the car with the windows open, a bit of fresh air, hearing the sounds of nature was amazing. And I still do that to this day. 2 years after I've come out of the hospital, I still enjoy going out and just being in a little bit of nature. Even if a car park doesn't really sound like nature, does it? But it is. It's lovely. And the first time I went out, I bought the car a month before I passed my assessment because I'm a cocky sod like that, aren't I? And I thought I'd seen so many cars that would have been perfect, and this one came up, and I thought I can't let this one go. It's too good, too much value, and too good, too exactly what I wanted. Even if I don't pass my assessment, my dad will have something to drive around with until I pass another assessment or I'm healthy enough. And luckily, because I passed my assessment, I was able to sort out with the DVLA that my licence now has a couple of markers on it. I'm not allowed to drive a manual, and I have to have the adaptive controller, but I can drive. And I was absolutely buzzing with it, and I still am. I love this car. And then I went out with my dad because he's a driving instructor. The very first time, I'd never driven an automatic before. I just said with him, I know I've passed my assessment, will you go out with me and make sure I am safe to drive? As long as you're happy with me, you're comfortable, then I'm comfortable. And he said, yeah, go on. We went out. Little drive around Selworthy in Southport, which is a really expensive, high-class place, which is quiet. It's where normally they take the kids for the first couple of lessons. He took me around there and went, no, you're all right. Just drive home, you're fine now. And I went out. I started going out. Drove to the beach. But I'm always close to my car because I need it. It's my little umbilical cord. I can't walk too far. Driving, it's amazing. When it's taken away from you, you realise how much you miss it. So my advice, beyond don't have a stroke, is also don't drink and drive. Don't have your licence taken away from you for doing something stupid, because it is like having your legs taken away from you. But yeah, driving. I love driving, man. Even my daughter, having to pick her up every morning and pick her up every afternoon from work. Lots of parents go mad about that. Oh, constantly moaning, she wants a lift again. I get to see my daughter. I love it. And I get to drive. Why wouldn't I? Although I will moan about this bloody traffic. The next milestone combines two of the previous ones to start off with: walking and driving. And it is, of course, going to the supermarket. Now, I'm lucky, I've got a family around me, I've got people that will go and do things for me. Not everyone does, I know that. But while I was lying there in the hospital, I was thinking to myself, I hate this, I hate relying on people. I hate relying on the nurses, the healthcare assistants, all those people. I hate relying on them. They're fantastic, but I hate it. I love doing things for myself. And when I got home, I was super reliant on my mum and dad. And again, I thought, I can't wait to be able to take the burden off them and at least go and do things for myself. One of the things was going and buying my own stuff from Tesco. There are other supermarkets available, by the way. This is just the closest one to me, and it's massive. So there's loads of stuff in there. It's still difficult. To this day, it's still difficult 2 years down the line, because I still can't use my left hand properly. Me walking, I have to be careful with. Holding a basket, I can put it in my left hand, but I have to hold it with my right as well. So I have to be really careful doing that. But that means it's good exercise, it's good physio, using the hand. It's big, so if I need to go to the far end and get stuff, I'm getting my steps in as well. And also, it was a big milestone because it was the first time I'd got out into somewhere with a lot of people. It's a big Tesco, there's loads of people in there. I didn't know how I would react to it. How would I handle this amount of people? After being in a ward with just 4 of us, and okay, there's plenty of nurses and doctors and things coming in and out, but it's not the same as a full supermarket full of people of bouncing around with trolleys and banging into you and can you get me that? How would I react? And it was tiring. I'll tell you that, it was tiring. The very first time I went in, I was exhausted by the time I got home, not just physically but mentally. I think taking in all the sounds, the sights, the smells of all the food and everything, people, it was a sensory overload. But I'd done it. I'd done that once. After that, it's got a bit easier each time. So it's crazy. Just going to the supermarket. How can that be a milestone? When you don't think you're going to do it again on your own, and then you do, it is a massive milestone. And if you can do it for yourself, don't moan, because come the day that you can't, you'll miss being able to do that. You'll miss just being able to go in there with no clue what you're going to buy and having a wander around. I think, yeah, I'm going to get that now because I'm now in the mood for it. It's huge. And I'm starving, so I'm going to go and get something to eat. Let's go Tesco. And finally, my last milestone, which is not my last milestone. The milestone that I had that was really important to me and meant something was going to the match. I've been a season ticket holder at Everton for 29 years, and I've been going regularly since 1985ish when we moved back to England. So it's been a massive part of my life. And lying in the hospital bed, thinking of things that you're never going to do or never going to do again. Driving was one of them, and going the match was another one. I just thought it was going to be beyond me. And until the very, very day that I went, I was panicking. I still thought it was going to be beyond me. My dad dropped me off. I couldn't get a train down there. I couldn't drive on my own. He had to drive for me, and he dropped me off at the corner of Gladys Street and Goodison Road. And he went round the corner and waited just in case I couldn't manage it. As it happens, I got in early. The stadium opens 90 minutes before kickoff, so there's very, very few people around. And I got in, got up a set of stairs that I am convinced my dad and his mate used to have a bit of a joke. Every season, have they added another step to these stairs? It felt as though they added another set of stairs to my stairs. It looked like I was at the base camp of Everest, looking up towards the summit. But I managed to get up there, got myself a coffee, found my way to my seat, and sat down. And I don't know if it was elation or a sense of achievement or a sense of exhaustion or all three of them at the same time. But I sat down, had my coffee, and just took in the sights. Nobody in there, just me and probably a couple of other people dotted around. That was it. And got my breath back. And that, if that was enough, if that was all I could manage, I'd have been happy with that. As it happens, more and more people came in. There's people I'd not seen in years. The ones I've been sat around for the last 20 odd years all came in. I've shaken hands with people and getting hugs, and everyone was asking how I was. And that was such a huge thing. Being out in crowds was a real concern for me. The fact that I was cocooned in this circle of people that I've been sat next to for, well, it's my 28th season in that seat. That made it easy because they were there. So I felt like I'd look over to the park end, and that was just the park end. I wasn't part of that. I'd look towards the main stand and towards the Bullens Road, and they were just other bits of the ground. It didn't affect me where I was. I was just in this little cocoon with these people. It was brilliant. And then I had to wait until after the game had finished and everyone left. Thankfully, the people around me were asking, "Are you okay?" Constantly, "Are you all right? Do you need anything?" Dave and Gary especially said, "Do you want us to wait? Do you want someone to walk in front of you on the way down?" I said, "No, you're okay. You go. I'll be fine. There's a banister on the way down. I'll just take me time." getting down the stairs was not as, I don't want to say painful, not as much of an effort getting down. You have to be careful. I still have to be careful to this day getting downstairs. Really got to take my time, and I did. I got to the bottom. My dad was waiting for me. He'd come home. He'd waited for the 3 hours, and then come and pick me up. And we got back in the car. Huge sigh of relief that I'd actually managed to do it. Got home, got in the house, sat down, and it felt like every little bit of me, every little tiny shred of energy that I had just went with that first breath when I got home. And it took me 2 days to get over that. And it still does when I go to the match. It takes me 2 days to get over it. Despite the fact that I just drive there, park near the ground, walk up hours before the kickoff, sit down, don't jump up and down, don't sing, don't chant, nothing like that, and then drive home. It still takes it out of me. But I never thought I'd get to do it. I really didn't. And I spoke to my physiotherapist because it was the last little milestone on our chart. What do you want to achieve with us? And that was one of them. I want to get back to the match. But I'd been signed off. I think I'd been signed off in May or June. So the season had finished by that point. And my occupational therapy was ongoing in the same room. So my physio was still in there. Gwyn, lovely lady. And I managed to see her. And I just said to her, I've done it. I've been to a match at the weekend. I managed to sort it out. You can tick it off your little list. And of course, she was buzzing because everything that she needed for me to tick off my little list, she could tick off hers. It was superb. Like I said at the start of this, Lao Tzu said, a journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. It did. And it ended with a single step, coming down that last little step out of the Gladys Street onto Gladys Street itself. That was it. But don't let that final step be the final step you take. Look after yourself, man. So there you go. There's my 5 things that mean something to me and the reasons why. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. And if you like that 5, why not check out these next? Or even these?